Hey, welcome back to the Blue Ridge Bonfire podcast, sponsored by Blue Ridge Overland Gear and this Matt. And we have a very special guest. For our listeners, this may get confusing because we have another Matt.
Another Matt.
Yeah.
Matt number 2.
So Matt.
Matt Jr.
Small Matt.
Small Matt. Yeah, Matt D.
Yeah.
Do you want to introduce yourself, tell listeners and viewers a little bit about yourself, why you're here? Like here, not like in the universe.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm Matt Wilson. I work for this little company called Ray Allen Manufacturing, which other Matt also works for.
Yeah.
And we make professional dog gear for government, police, and private citizens. I've been there for about 10 years. Matt's been there for 15.
Forever.
Making dog gear. And I'm out here this week because we have a new special secret project that we're gonna unveil here soon at Ray Allen.
So we've been working on this project. Today's day 2.
Yep.
We've got 2 more days to get it
Where it needs to be
ironed out and ready to roll. And
so we can get back to the shop and
so you can actually go back and make a living making this stuff.
Right. That's the important thing.
Speaking of pets,
Yeah.
like you guys have traveled with them. I know Craig took a road trip right out of the gate. You guys obviously probably take animal safety and stuff like that a little more serious. Matt's got a relatively new 4-leg companion with Anne.
I do. So far.
A lot of overlanders, and we're guilty of this, honestly. I am. Any thoughts on like traveling with your dogs, long distance, things like that?
Crate them.
Just crate them. Yeah.
I mean, crates. And I wouldn't ever suggest like a wire crate for that, but like a good plastic crate, or if you really want to spend some money, like there's a company that we sell that we sell that's
Are we talking about Gunner, or are we talking about?
But it's
Vario.
not Vario cage.
Yeah.
Vario cage from Sweden.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's actually crash tested.
Yeah.
Right.
And they have like thrown it off. Gunner has too. But like a really solid crate, because accidents, and that kind of thing where, the everyday might be just in the back of the truck, back seat kind of thing.
Yeah.
But like the actual like traveling down the highway and stuff like that.
Yeah,
people always put a crate in there.
I think a lot of people don't think about like you're wearing a seatbelt.
Right.
Oh no, Scooby will become a projectile. Think
Yeah.
about the stuff that flies around. Again, even off-road stuff. I've talked about, sort of ejecting dogs from the
Yeah.
back seat to the dash and catching them on the the way by and stuff. And
Even not even an accident. Just
No,
Just
I mean,
it
was semi-intentional as far as what was happening.
Right. Yeah.
But nonetheless, just the, one, being able to confine them or control them so that they don't go flying around the car is a kicker. And then, dealing with heat stuff. I mean, that's the other.
Yeah.
How are you going to manage heat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everything from crate fans to, we actually have, and it works really well. When Ray Allen sells them, it's basically they're like small radiator fans.
Yeah.
That you can wire to 12 volt and put a switch on.
Oh, cool.
And they blow air like mad.
Yeah.
And you can wire tie those to the front of kennels.
Yeah.
And they'll just, they will blow and take pretty low power. I mean, they're pretty easy on the power. That kind of stuff, I think, becomes a priority.
And the airflow is a big thing for the dog because obviously they can't sweat. So getting the air across the tongue and the skin.
Right.
Yeah. Just dissipating heat through airflow is a huge deal.
We actually ended up with one of these because my parents, they camp in a camper, but just for their dogs when it's hot, they have one of those cooling pads they just put out on a bed.
Like the ice ones?
Yeah. And their dogs love it. Just flat out, splooch on it, belly, chest, legs. They know. Like, they know that's where they get some relief. So we got one of those, and Joe will use it some, but because she is stubborn, she's like, no, I won't lay where you want me to. I'll lay 6 inches to the left.
Yeah.
Just the left.
Have you guys any experience with those? Obviously, probably not a good call if your dog is like destructive of bedding.
Yeah, you don't want to meet in that. But I mean, an older, a dog that's past that chewing up stuff. And, we actually sell harness that actually Matt designed, harness attachments that go on like the belly and the sides.
For cooling packs and stuff like that.
Packs
again,
and having some, having some general dog first aid knowledge, I think is pretty valuable. I mean, like, how do you cool one down if you overheat it or if it gets overheated, even if it's just out running and doing stuff? Like, what do you do to drop its temperature fast? And
which, I mean, you're a trusted source. But what would you say, in an emergency?
And at the house, it would be, I mean, you're basically giving them a water enema.
Yeah.
A hose enema as quickly as you can, because you're gonna cool them down from the belly fastest, and
And from the inside,
and if you can cool them down from the inside quick, like you'll really, you can really basically take the heat off of them. But basically, getting their belly cooled down is the
if you're not going full hose enema, ice packs on what belly, groin.
Yeah, the biggest mistake a lot of people do is they put ice and water, which is very bad.
Okay, yeah.
Like when the dog's drinking it. So they'll put ice cubes in the water for the dog to drink, which you don't ever want to do.
Yeah, it gets too cold and it seizes up their stomach.
So just drink water, keep ice on the outside.
And just let them drink water.
Yeah.
The dog's not dumb. Like they have survival mechanisms.
If they're in such bad shape they're not drinking, you probably need to go.
You have other issues, right? Like you got to get them cooled down, right?
Yeah.
But for sure, like on a normal 80-degree day or something, packing ice in the water, 85-degree day, packing ice in the water is a bad idea.
Yeah.
And like there's a guy in our space that's a good friend of ours. His name's Worthless Handler on Instagram. But he does a Medical Monday.
Yeah.
And he shows like different stuff because he lives in Tennessee, and he shows a bunch of stuff like that, which is a really good thing to follow because, I mean, like he's playing with his dog, and which is wild to watch on a video if you don't know it's coming. But he'll be like playing with his dog, and his dog will run up, and he's got a mal, and dog will run up and grab it, and then he's like, "All right, stand," and then whoop, thermometer, and checks his temperature.
Yeah.
Like, all right, yep, you're good. Throws again.
Yeah.
And like he's like how to regulate temperature and like all that kind of stuff, which is interesting to watch. But it's
things to look for. He does a lot of good stuff on that front as far as getting some education. But looking at that, and what's the Den Mother?
Yeah, Den Mother. Yeah,
Den Mother also does does a bunch of stuff like that, and that's is he a vet?
He was like a vet tech.
A vet tech. I thought, what was he?
He was a Red Beret in attached to group.
Okay.
Yeah, if I remember correctly. So could be wrong. Sorry.
Yeah, I couldn't remember. Like it was 18 Delta, and then went in the dog stuff or something like that.
That's the other one.
I think the dog first aid is something a lot of people don't think about.
100%.
We've got two friends that has a small pitty, and he is really accident prone. I mean, he goes hard, and that's why.
Yeah.
Thankfully, she is a vet tech.
Yeah.
And actually in an ER and for a long time. But he's had all kinds of wild stuff, like fences, random sticks. Probably the worst is he jumped a trailer hitch one time and caught a bolt on the inside of like essentially where the femoral would be. And like peeled the skin back, didn't go quite deep enough, but when he did it, he panicked.
Yeah.
And so they had to like get him and then check it and everything. But things can go wrong with your dog.
Yeah. The
really
most
quickly.
important thing that I tell people is carry a muzzle.
I was gonna say carry a vet muzzle is a kicker. You can get
a mesh muzzle.
Yeah, just an inexpensive vet muzzle. Rayhound sells a couple different mesh muzzles. One's really nice and adjustable, and you can fit it to a bunch of different dogs. Again, I designed that one.
Yeah.
But that's handy because like in distress, you don't know what your dog's going to do, right?
Yeah.
And like taking them to the vet, you don't know. Happy dog, all of a sudden, in pain can be a different beast. And a lot of times it's just
they're panicking.
Well, dog in pain is unreliable.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I ever took it was like a CPR class for dogs, and this is 15 years ago, but I remember taking it, and it was a lot of like older women that had like labs, golden retriever. Like it wasn't working dogs. Right? It was like just home dogs, and they were just taking a class for their dog, which was really cool to see.
Yeah.
But I remember like sitting there and the instructor being like, "Yeah, everybody has a muzzle," and I was like, "I had a muzzle," and they were like, "Anybody else?" And no one else had a muzzle.
Yeah.
And every single one of them was like, "Oh, my dog would never bite me."
Right.
And I'm like, I've seen the nicest dog in the world turn around and grab someone's face because they had a broken leg.
Yeah. No, your dog. I was gonna say, broken leg. You're just checking it out.
Yeah.
Dog wheels around because I'm hurting and you're near the hurt. Yeah.
Are you causing the hurt?
Right.
They don't know.
Yeah. And like the perfect example being a lab.
Yeah.
People think, oh, it's a big fluffy, golden retriever. Yeah. It's actually about a 70-pound dog with a pretty good size, set of teeth on it.
Yeah. With teeth that'll wound you.
Yeah.
Knowing what medications do different things for bee stings and like, what dosage rate for Benadryl and things like that, because there's a lot of stuff you can give.
It's over the counter work for dogs.
Yeah, and having stuff like, our dog's seed ticks, like we just had one last night that got into a whack of seed ticks, and they have, while they have flea and tick medication on, right, like the pour on flea and tick medication, that tick then has to bite them in order to die. But that means he's got 90 or 100, 200, I don't even know. You get into an
right. We've been dealing with that at the house recently.
Right.
Tis the season here in Virginia.
Right, yeah. You can have a bazillion of them.
Yeah.
And now he's itchy as all get out. So having something that, that you can, like, whether that's kind of flea and tick shampoo that you just keep around, or you throw in something when you travel. So you can kill the bugs, and dealing with something, if they have an allergic reaction or they get stung by a bee, something that can take swelling down quickly, especially if you're in the woods. Ways to cool them down, ways to transport water without spilling, like the
Buddy bowl.
Buddy bowl is a handy piece that has a lid that if you flip it over, it still doesn't spill.
Yeah.
So it can like travel loose in the car, basically.
Spilling anything.
Yeah, or it can go in something in the dog.
Yeah.
Getting water out of it's almost impossible. And then there's some lidded stuff that's pretty solid that you can keep lids on. And then the other thing, there's a couple different like travel, like water food containers that are kind of handy.
I was going to say, I saw a guy actually when I was out west had a really cool water bottle attachment where he literally was like drinking out of his bottle, and then he would screw this thing on, and when you dipped it down, it allowed the water to kind of like go into a vessel for the dog.
Yep.
And I think that it was obviously watching it was really smart, because it was like he stops to get a drink, the dog gets a drink, so constant hydration. Yeah, it was pretty hot and dry and everything, just like for us, better than like gorging on it. So Matt, go back to the seed ticks, because honestly, we've been dealing with that. We had a good belly shaving party the other day, so it's easier to get them off. Also, I think I've talked about it on the podcast later when I retire, I want to be a barber. Yeah, I think training is important, because shaved a belly.
The fade wasn't where they
took a step back and was like, oh, one's a straight line and one is a wide circle. Roll back over.
Yeah.
We did that just to make it easier to get them off of them. We use like witch hazel to just like kind of cause the seed ticks to die, and if the dogs lick it, it's not going to hurt them because it evaporates really quick. Any other pointers?
I mean, like I said, we usually have a flea or tick shampoo, something that's a medicated shampoo to kill it.
Okay, yeah.
And you're just we just bathe them as soon as we
because there was like a 2-week period, probably 3 times the girls went out, they came back in the house, we're like, oh god.
So that's again same thing. We just I think the one little dog has like gotten into seed ticks 2 or 3 times now in the last month. Yeah, and he's getting some kind of medicated bath because
frequently.
And again, if you just left him alone, they would die and fall off.
Right. Yeah, ours are on Brevecta, and Brandy said I could not, in fact, tell the vet that we have a third dog that weighs about 176 pounds to get the dosage. Because I was like, why can't I take Brevecta?
Right. I have a St. Bernard.
Yeah, sorry. Can't get him in the truck. Can I just get the medication?
Right.
Also, just curious, if I accidentally slipped and fell and ate some of it, what would be the side effects? Right. Like, I would love something that was like, yeah, just bite me. Just do it, you little blood-sucking bastard.
Okay. I have to tell your listeners something. I live in Colorado, obviously.
And there are no bugs.
We're at 7,000 feet, and there are no bugs there. Mm-hmm. And being here, I am the most terrified. I am like there is a spider right there.
Oh no, he's been there the whole time.
I know he's dead.
No.
Oh no, he's been.
What you should probably know is that's actually a pretty good sized wolf spider.
No, which is fine.
No, wolf spider web, and wolf spiders eat other spiders. I haven't seen her for a couple weeks. Maybe a bird picked her off, but she used to sit there during the podcast, and she was big enough to kill that one.
Oh,
that was a mill.
Oh,
yeah.
Yay.
So.
Great.
Yeah, but they're friends. They eat other spiders.
Yeah, no. Wolf spiders are fine. I mean, in Colorado, we have a lot of brown recluses, and we have a lot of black widows. But
we have those too.
Right, but
no ticks.
Right.
Yeah.
And fleas aren't a thing.
Oh, really?
It's not wet enough.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
So they don't, unless you're by water.
Yeah, mosquitoes.
Yes, because we were getting destroyed for about a 30-minute period when we were out.
So you guys were out doing some fishing and stuff.
Yeah. We were up near a trout stream, and there was a beaver dam, and it wasn't very abbreviated. It was like no mosquitoes. Holy crap, there's a lot of mosquitoes, and then the temperature just hit that line. It's like, oh, they're gone. Okay.
Yeah, where I'm at, it's none.
None of
it's
that.
just high desert.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, we were up north of Rocky Mountain National Park. Yeah. And there was definitely some boggy areas, moose and all that. So, Any other like really good dog stuff? Like, we've talked about first aid kits.
Transporting.
Yeah. So the big thing that I also tell people is, so when it comes to like medical, you have to, it's getting your dog to the vet.
Yeah.
Like you are not a vet, so it's getting your dog to the vet.
So
if you have a 100-pound golden retriever, 90-pound, I have a 80-pound Mal.
Yeah.
And he breaks his leg, I have to get him out of wherever he is.
Carry him out. Yeah.
Right. And people usually don't practice very much like shouldering a dog or, the outside military and stuff like that. So, practice picking up your dog, shouldering them, or, we sell gear that, you're able to, whether it's a sling or, anything like that, to get your dog in and lift them and take them away.
You got your Frenchie, so a bowling ball bag actually works really well for a Frenchie. It's kind of round, heavy, dense.
So Matt actually came up with a really slick leash.
Yeah.
That takes a bunch of the rayon harnesses and turns them into backpacks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I remember,
so that you can literally either shoulder strap him like you're carrying a purse or whatever, sling bag, or you can actually flip it around and make it into backpack straps to carry your dog out. It's really slick as far as like extraction and stuff like that goes.
And I mean,
and being thinking about stuff like that, because your dogs can have injuries and people pack their own first aid gear, but pack very little for a dog. Right. And the other thing is with something like that, like literally you could have your dog can carry all that.
Right.
Say more than 20 pounds. If he's more than 20 pounds, there's no reason not to put saddlebags on him and put a decent harness on him that you can, something that's actually load rated, made to carry stuff, not don't Temu your dog harness.
Yeah. Sewn together with dental floss and hope.
Yeah.
The hope part is pretty evident.
But something that like literally if you needed to save him, if he's important to you, if you needed to save him, I mean, Rayon makes a bunch of stuff like that that's really, really handy, neat ideas that, like I said, I don't think people who are traveling think a lot about how to get your dog out of the woods if something goes wrong.
The closest emergency vet is
where you're at. And that's important because, the mom and pop vet may not have anybody around. Yeah.
Or they just may not be taking, like they're full that day. I mean, even, we even run into that with our vet. Like, we've gone in with emergencies and then like somebody will call and they'll be like, we already have an emergency. Like in the building and everything's full and you're going to have to go to the emergency vet in wherever. But I think having that information is important, knowing where that is. Like I said, the biggest thing is like you're out hiking with a dog, you go a long way. And knowing where you're at, like Eastern Woods, like, looking at things like chest plates and stuff that you're not going to ram a stick through his chest because that's the kind of stuff that will happen to him here. That they'll be cruising around having a big time and all of a sudden, chasing a ball or you're out playing with him and the next thing you know, like he impales himself. And then it's
Which
crap.
Is not an uncommon thing.
No, it's not. Like way more common than anybody wants to think that a dog will impale himself on something in the woods.
Well, it's like what you're talking about. Even the trailer hitch.
No,
it's the same kind of thing,
I mean, he was swimming in their backyard one time, like literally a creek in their backyard after a high water, and all of a sudden freaks out. He loves water, so they're like something's up. They recall him. He gets out, and he had totally gashed a pad, some broken glass or something had washed down. So. Getting that under control, because that was like stitches. Which on that note, we've talked about a lot medical stuff here. We've had Rodney, Overland Medic. Obviously, unless you have a really big dog, a cat tourniquet's probably not going to work really well. In your experience,
no, even a cat tourniquet doesn't work on a dog.
Yeah. So like a SWAT or a rat or
I've seen rats work. SWAT works too, because you got the pliability. Because you have to, when it comes to a tourniquet on a dog, you have to get up over the joint and around the arm. Because it's a triangle. So a lot of people will wrap and then
not a 90.
And then it just slides down. Because it goes from really big to skinny.
Like a triangle.
So you have to, you have to actually get around it. And then up around so it holds it up and tight.
I keep a SWAT for honestly.
SWAT works really well.
Kids and dogs because you can really stretch that thing.
I was gonna say a rat's the other one that would be good for stuff like that. Even if you don't use the little clip thing from a rat, even if you just use the elastic, wrap it and then tie it off, like even clear to the other side or like up into a collar.
Right.
If it's a front leg, you can tie it up into the collar to keep it up. Because like he said, the big thing is as soon as you put it on, it wants to walk its way down. So you got to put it on, and then you got to figure out how in order to keep it up. Whether that's strap it to a collar, strap it to a D-ring and a harness, just anything to hold it on the high side.
Yeah.
So
stop that blood flow.
Yeah. But like I said, normally the other thing is, relative to a dog, a leg is a long way from his heart typically.
Yeah.
Like the impaling is way more common than, or at least in my experience.
In that case,
those
pack it right, because you're not going to chest seal him.
Pack it and get him to the bed as soon as possible.
Yeah. And then, pads, going back to foot injuries are hugely common. And that'll make a dog 3-legged lame pretty quick.
Yeah.
So having, whether it's a boot, like I don't ever boot a dog. Like that's just, I know some people do, but I've never that's a lie. I put a pair of boots on the dog, like sled dogs and stuff, racing sled dogs. There's certain temperatures I would boot them at because they get ice balls. That's something you have to worry about.
Honestly, I think for me, like, I worry less in the woods and more like hot pavement for events. If you're going to an event or something.
That's actually really common in Colorado because people will hike and like not the pavement, but the trails or whatever, so dry that it would just, and you'll look and your dog will just have saucers missing out of
it'll braid away. And the thing is, if you're out with them like that a lot or they're running a lot, they'll callus just like your hands and they'll be fine, which is why I try to boot my dogs as little as possible or almost not at all. But at the same time, they blow a pad, they have something, I can pack that thing with triple antibiotic ointment or something like that, put a boot on it, have vet wrap, because vet wrap, and then I can like
even on human stuff.
I was going to say infinitely handy. If you don't have any, go get some.
Right, but use that to keep make sure the boot stays on good, and then normally you can salvage. You can salvage some stuff because that will heal in a couple days typically, unless it's really bad. But blown nail, having nail trimmers,
ripping a nail off. Have you never seen that with a dog?
Yeah,
there's a lot of blood.
There's a lot
of blood.
Yeah.
My dog broke my nose. You can see this little right here, because I had a round muzzle which has a metal plate in it, agitation muzzle. And I was clipping his nails, and he's not a very big fan, but I was like, hey, whatever. And I hit it quick. And started just pouring blood. And he went, whoa, and just headbutted me with it. And my nose was like, and I was like, oh, okay, we're okay.
Way bigger
pouring blood, and he looked at me like, even.
That's what it feels like.
We're even. But and the other thing is like cinnamon will help clot that. There's some stuff you can use that may even be like in your kitchen, right? Like in your kitchen med kit.
A lot of people use dirt. Just let them walk in the dirt.
Because the other thing to think about too is dogs heal from the outside in, not like people, which heal from the inside out. So, and a dog's got a higher rate of iodine in their saliva, so it actually kills stuff when they're licking it. They're actually killing stuff. That's one of the things. Like when you people are like, oh, don't let them lick that. Well, no, sometimes that's okay if you're not like if you haven't gotten it clean and gotten it taken care of. Okay, don't let him lick his stitches out. But if he's got a wound, chances are he's actually making that wound better by licking it. So a lot of times you're better off to just let him do what he does. Things like that. Learning that shit is important.
The old shaving sticks, like the silver, whatever they are.
What are they?
The old like shaving sticks. It's like looks like a piece of chalk, but if you like cut yourself shaving, you hit it. We do that. We keep that around for the dog's nails. Joe has jet black nails, which honestly I just let Brandy do that. I'm always just like, this is setting myself up for failure. But if you do bump it quick, just like hold it on there a second and it just stops. It's not as messy as the gel stuff. Because that gel stuff is always like getting all over you and the dog. And
we sell styptic powder, which is so you just.
And it's done.
We're good.
And roll on.
And move on. But
and they don't seem to like nails and stuff. Like I said, it's like a dog who splits a nail or something. They don't react to the
the chemical cauterization.
Near as like at least on their foot, not near as
like a dog be like, oh, it's totally fine, and then we've tried and oh my god, they jump out of their skin. You're like, oh, I'm sorry, bud.
There's a reason it stopped bleeding.
In your guys' community, especially the overlanding side, like a dog is usually attached, pretty heavily in that because outdoor people like to share that companionship, and the the big thing is it's kind of like, and I would guess Rodney said this too, you know, like you have to practice, you know, so like it's good to teach your dog, like, you know, if I lay you on your side and I tell you not to move, like do that, you know, because forcing your dog in that position will also make a lot of that fun.
You know, I think that's a lot of things. Recall 100%. On the trail, stuff like that, you know.
I mean, don't let the first time you ever put a muzzle on him be when he's in distress.
Because
you know, that's a big
you're
one.
getting bit.
Put the muzzle being a rewarded behavior before that.
Yes.
Yeah, or just part, you know, hey, we put it on every once in a while just to have you used to it.
Right.
Hey, we do this every once in a while. We pick you up in your harness and throw you on the shoulder just to have you used to the fact that if we had to carry you out.
It can happen.
Right.
Early in the year, I saw a lady had a muzzle on her Brittany. And, you know, she actually made a comment and said, somebody asked me why. I was like, well, it can be a little nippy with other dogs. And we're out here in public and it's just good practice. You know, the dog's totally fine.
Well, what's the...
we have muzzles on our dogs all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, like if we have chicken killers.
Yeah.
And we want to kick them loose, we get them used to like kind of maybe a little better muzzle, and then we'll use plastic greyhound muzzles because they're really inexpensive and the dogs can breathe and drink and do everything they would normally do, so that they doesn't seem to bother them.
Yeah.
But like I said, you can get inexpensive plastic greyhound muzzles, and if we've got one that's a chicken killer, you know, or something like that. You know, and normally like you have 2 or 3 of them out, or 8 of them, I don't know, a bunch of them out at a time, and they're running and they're fine. It's when you're down to 1 or 2 and you're putting them up, or you know you're kind of done, or you're going to let one run around for a little longer, and then it gets bored and says, "Oh, look at that little fluffy thing look at that snack on
little
legs,
Daisy,
you know?
man, right? It's the ones you least expect.
Daisy is well, and Anne.
Yeah,
Anne's got an Anne's. Yeah,
and holds on.
The little border collie starts to hurt them, and then suddenly gets tired of hurting them and decides they're snacks, you know, or whatever, you know, decides they, you know, there's chicken nuggets in there and they didn't know it.
For those of you who may not have heard the story, Daisy is the mom of one of your other ones, right? Or no, Boots, right? Oh, wait, who's... She just really hates geese, right? But she's this little mini Aussie,
softest little thing,
sweetest. Like you can't pet her too quickly.
Yeah,
you know she flinches. But if you're a goose, she's there to make sure your heart stops beating. Like, man, geese, the enemy.
Yeah. Daisy's super soft, super like, I mean, just wants to sit on the couch with you and not do anything. You know, like that kind of dog. And then, we'll go eating. She's a chicken goose killing machine. Like as soon as she's all left her own devices. But anyway, that's a place, like I said, where like having a muzzle and getting a dog used to it has a lot of value.
Does Raylan make a Frenchie muzzle? Isn't that just like an N95 face mask with eye holes?
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
So there is a vet muzzle basically for Frenchies.
It's so funny because it's like it like I love how they always put over either the Bane.
Oh
They put over the Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah.
You know, like the Bane one. It's like no one knew who I was before I put on, and it's like.
Like,
that's one of my favorite ones
because it's a slightly out of round ball.
We
do make Overland gear, and you got a Subi, right? But you recently picked up something else. It's kind of in the vein of like in the Dream Rig situation. You want to tell us about your?
It's really close to Dream. It's like one part, 2 parts, 3 parts off. 3 parts off.
For me, it's fine. For these two, it's not. I just want to point that out. But I picked up a '97 F250
Square body
with extended cab, 8-foot bed,
7.3 diesel.
No, not diesel.
No, it's a gasser.
Oh, I thought you said it was 7.3, not a 7.3. Oh,
so 6.0, right?
Oh,
6.0.
No, it's 5.
There would have been a couple options in that. In that era, I don't remember. So still had a 302 up through then, and they had those in some 3/4 tons. I don't know about maybe that late. Maybe that ended in the 80s. I'm not that familiar with that gasser, honestly. I mean, like I said, the 351s and the 302s and stuff I'm familiar with just because they were in all kinds of crap back in the day.
It being the 8-foot bed in that truck, I think you've got to go old man cap where it's got the little like riser on it, the 2 little windows.
It actually had a topper on it, but the thing is I wanted a truck. I was like,
it's still a truck, man.
No, I know, but
with an 8-foot bed and the high rise cap, you know.
Yeah, see, that's the thing is like
You get a discount. AARP card just shows up.
Yeah, no, right. I'm automatically my dad.
Yeah.
All right.
White.
Giant white beard.
Yeah, just a giant white Santa beard. No, in all respect, and again, all respect to you guys and the overlanding thing. It's never been my like forte. I've always wanted one of the square body Ford trucks, and like that one just happened to call my name.
Yeah.
And so I've always wanted it, and not for the overlanding reason.
No, it's just a cool old truck.
Yeah.
No, totally respect that. Yeah.
Yeah, and everything. It was a Peach Orchard truck. Was the first owner. Second owner literally kept it in a garage that he rented in Moab, and then would like bring his like fun toys there.
Yeah.
And literally would just take it from there, because I guess if you get on the road with the toys in Moab, it's like a $300 fine.
Yeah.
And so he kept getting like in trouble for it. And so he was like, fine. So he got that truck just to trailer him to like the trailhead in Moab. And that was all it was. And he was like, yeah, I put on, I think, 1,500 miles.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was original, had an original 89,000 miles on it. And like the best thing about the truck is, like out here, it wouldn't make sense, I don't think. But like in town, because I live in a pretty bigger city.
Yeah.
And like, man, does it make you just like chill. Like you're not worried about getting to the next light. You're just like, oh yeah, this is yellow, I'll slow down.
And also with the extended cab and with an 8-foot bed, it probably also makes you hyper aware of all the parking lots that you can actually fit into.
I have to think about it before I get like, should I take the Subaru? I'm taking the Subaru.
Yeah.
I will absolutely,
because there's a lot of parking spaces. Like I was somewhere recently in the ZR2, which is not a long truck. And it was the Roanoke Airport, which they just redid the parking lot. I think I know now how they expanded parking. They made them smaller.
Yeah.
I was like literally eking up to the guy in the spot in front of me, and then when I got out, it was like I'm like 8 inches out in the lane. But
dude, just take your half out of the middle and the back. That's what I did. Lot. I just
and same thing was in Levelland or Longmont or one of those Denver suburbs. With a buddy, and in his FJ Cruiser, which is not a very big truck, pulled into a parking lot on the end of a row.
Compact.
And as I got out, it was like it was like right to the corner of the sidewalk. Yeah. It was like, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of like compact parking now.
Yeah.
It's like every lane they took, because what's a lane? It's almost 6 feet, 7 feet, something like that.
A lane? I mean,
maximum a spot.
Yeah, sorry.
I mean, maximum width on a vehicle is 8 feet. So my truck, like the flatbeds are.
Yeah, so it'd be like
7 something, 7
so
6
it's like right
or,
at that.
Yeah.
And then so the compact ones are at 6.
Yeah.
And you can't fit like
no.
I mean, even like my Subaru, I'm like, oh no, I can't open the doors.
Right.
Two people were here. I'm like, I can't. And that's not even that wide.
No, 100%. I
think that's truck, and I'm like, oh no.
Hey, it wouldn't be the Blue Ridge Bonfire without a tangent or a dozen. So yeah.
Good.
Well, hey, thanks for coming out. We really do enjoy having you here in the shop. Got a couple more days with you. Yeah. Check out Rayon Manufacturing. You've probably already checked out Blue Ridge Overland gear, but do it again because we probably have some new stuff on the site.
Yeah.
And we'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode. And hopefully by then we will have the patches to debut to our listeners. I promise we're working on something that's really cool. It's a new way of making patches for us. They're not embroidered. It's not laser etched. It's really cool. One guy already won one through a giveaway. I guess we need to draw a second one. But
I will say Matt told me about those.
Yeah.
That's pretty legit.
It's pretty slick technology.
Really cool
Yeah, it looks really cool. And once we kind of get the details, like it's in the process. Once we get the process nailed down, we'll be able to do these like, pretty quickly and make kind of like special runs.
Yeah.
We have not forgotten about you.
Right.
All right. Have a good life, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.